Chapter 5 The Hand of God. It is by the hand of God that he shows his love and kindness, and it is by the hand of God and in vengeance he destroys. Show your marvelous loving kindness by your right hand, O you, who save those who trust in you from those who rise up against them. Psalms 17:7. For God controls all things in his hands, and he created man from the works of his hands. For the Roman numeral for 5 is V, which is the creative power of his hands, and the Greek numeral for 5 is epsilon, which is the yearning of life from our hands. For you open your hand and satisfy the desire of every living thing. Psalms 145:16. And the word came from the hands of the Father. For the covenant of the 10 Commandments was written by his hands. And when he had made an end of speaking with him on Mount Sinai, he gave Moses 2 tablets of the testimony, tablets of stone written with the finger of God. Exodus 31:18. And the Torah are the 5 books of his people, which form the foundation of his word. And the tabernacle was built in the semblance of his hands. For by the hand of God his people were delivered from Egypt. By strength of hand the Lord has brought us out from Egypt, out of the house of bondage. Exodus 13:14. And by the strength of his hands the tabernacle of the covenant was built. For the tabernacle was covered by 5 curtains on each side. Exodus 26:3. And the tabernacle was built with 5 boards on each side. Exodus 26:26. And the tabernacle was held by 5 pillars on each side. Exodus 26:37. And the temple was built in the semblance of his hands. For the cherubim was the breadth of 5 cubits on each side. 1 Kings 6:24. And in the holy place were 5 basins on each side, on which the priest cleaned the Lord's offering. And in front of the basins in the temple were 5 tables of sacrifice on each side, on which to prepare the Lord's offering. And besides the basins of sacrifice were 5 lampstands of gold on each side, on which to light the Lord's offering. And on each table of offering in the temple were 5 bowls of gold on each side, on which to present the Lord's offering. 2 Chronicles 4:6. And the priests were to keep their hands pure. For he who has clean hands and a pure heart, who has not lifted up his soul to an idol nor sworn deceitfully, he shall receive blessing from the Lord. Psalms 24:4. But his priests did not keep their hands pure, thus the temple of their hands was destroyed. Ezra 5:12. Thus the Son came as the high priest of a temple. And the high priest of the temple took the 5 loaves and the 2 fish, and looking up toward heaven, he blessed the food. And breaking the loaves, he gave them to his disciples, and the disciples gave them to the crowds. Matthew 14:19. For by the power of his hands, from 5 loaves the priest would feed 5,000. And from the hands of the temple the priesthood was handed to his disciples. And from the word of the high priest, 1 priest would give bread to 1,000. Mark 8:19. And now he has handed the priesthood to his people, and each has been called as a priest to his kingdom. For some will be handed 1, and some will be handed 5, and some will be handed 10. And each will be rewarded for their hand in his kingdom. For those who have forsaken his name, their inheritance shall be taken and handed to his servants. Luke 19:12. And that which is left shall be thrown in the fire. Luke 3:17. For there are 5 words which advance the word and the truth. For these 5 words are Jesus Christ, Son of God Savior, Iosus Christos Theoiosoter. For Jesus Christ is the Son of God, who gave us the word and the truth, in order to save his people from death. And his people have been handed the priesthood, and they have spread the word and the truth. For the 5 words of his name is ichthys, which in Latin is translated to fish. For as he said, "Follow me, and I will make you become fishers of men." Mark 1:17. But just as God's hand created all of mankind, so shall his hand destroy all mankind. For the fifth trumpet shall warn of the terror of his judgment. Revelation 9:1. And when the fifth bow is poured out, a nuclear winter shall cover the earth. Revelation 16:10. And the earth shall be covered in darkness, and the land and life sea shall perish. And mankind will suffer from pestilence and famine, for they will gnaw on their tongues because of pain. Revelation 9:5. So remember the power of God's righteous hand, for the hand of his judgment is near. For his right hand shall redeem all his people. But do not plead the fifth, for his right hand shall also destroy what is left. The Lord is at your right hand. He shall execute kings in the day of his wrath. He shall judge among the nations. He shall fill the places with dead bodies. He shall execute the heads of many countries. He shall drink of the brook by the wayside. Therefore he shall lift up the head. Psalms 110:5.